All right, so let's divide that one. All right, so let's go back to the grade school. So how many times does 13 go into 4? None. How many times does 13 go into 42? 3, right? So 3. And so 3 times 13 is 39. And then I distribute a negative, then I'd add straight down. Some people call it subtract, but I'm going to try to get you to do it this way. And so then I get 3, right? And then I drop 3 like it's hot. All right? So then how many times does 13 go into 33? 2. All right? And so 2 times 13 is 26, right? And then I distribute a negative. I'd add straight down, so then I'm left with 7, right? And then I drop it like it's hot, so then I get 76. And so how many times does 13 go into 76? Are we saying 6? Let's try 6. I don't know. I don't think 6 was going to work. All right, let's try 5. All right, so if we do 5, what would that be? 65? 65. All right, and then I distribute a negative. I add straight down, and I'm left with 11. And so I hate the middle school teacher that did this. It's like remainder 11. Never do that. No, it's not. It's actually 11 thirteenths. All right, so it's actually 325 and 11 thirteenths. All right, because it's not a remainder 11. It's an 11 out of how much? 13. All right, so if we can handle that. In 2-3, we're going to do polynomial and synthetic division. All right. All right. So when we do polynomial division, we need to make our little fraction bar. So if you can do, actually, let's do today's lesson here. So I now have x minus 2, and I'm dividing 6x cubed minus 19x squared plus 16x minus 4. So, how many times does x go into 6x cubed? How many times does x go into 6x cubed? 6x cubed divided by x is how much? 6x squared. So I put it over the squared category. So now I have 6x squared. And so now I multiply 6x squared with x minus 2. So now I have 6x cubed. And then minus what? 12x squared. And then this is where I tell you to distribute a negative and add straight down. So distribute the negative and then add straight down. You're going to make less mistakes if you do that rather than subtracting. Is everybody feeling me here? All right. So then when we add straight down, those cancel, which is what we want. And now I have negative 7x squared. And then I drop 16x because Snoop Dogg told me to. All right. So then how do I go from x to negative 7x squared? What times x gives me negative 7x squared? Negative 7x. So now I'm left with negative 7x squared. And then plus 14x, right? What would I suggest you do right here? Distribute the negative. So now I'm left with 2x. And then you drop down negative 4. So then how do I get from x to 2x? Positive 2, right? And so then I'd end up with 2x and then minus 4. All right? So then I distribute the negative, I add straight down, and I end up with 0. And that's a good thing because that means it's a factor. All right? So I'd end up having x minus 2 times the quantity 6x squared minus 7x plus 2. All right, that's what I'd really have going on after I divide here. And it says use the result to factor the polynomial completely. So again, after I do that, what can I do with this? The 6x squared part. It's the other F word. Factor, okay? So we're going to factor that one. All right, so now I have x minus 2. And then how do I get to 6x squared minus 7x plus 2? What does that factor to? You have a minus 2 minus 1, right? So we end up with 3x minus 2 and 2x minus 1. All right, so that would be my factored completely. All right, let's keep moving. So this is how it works. So you take whatever you're dividing by, so we're dividing by x plus 1, and then you have whatever you're dividing into underneath the square root. Now, or underneath the divisor. But what you do with the remainder is you add the remainder over what you're dividing by. All right. So that's what we're doing when we do our division with polynomials. If that remainder is 0, what do you know? That part is a factor. All right. If it's not 0, it's not a factor. The only thing that I care about this page is when you're doing the division, you need to write it in descending powers. Okay? You need to write it in descending powers. So if you have an x to the 4th and then you have an x to the 5th, that's not descending. Does that make sense? And then if you don't have something, like if you don't have an x squared, you need to say it's a 0x squared. All right, or it's going to mess up. All right, and I think I have a couple examples that will help us. All right, great colors too. So I'm going to divide x cubed minus 1 by x minus 1. And so I'd end up having x minus 1 there, right? And then I'd have x cubed. And then do I just say minus 1? I don't. What would I need to say? Plus 0x squared, and then plus 0x, and then finally minus 1. I need those placeholders there. All right? So now I'm ready to go. So how do I get from x to x cubed? X squared. All right, so now I have x cubed, and then minus x squared. What would I suggest you do right here? Pew, pew. All right, and so then I add straight down, and now I'm left with x squared, and then I drop this, and so now I end up having plus 0x. And then how do I get from x to x squared? Just an x. So now I end up having x, and then minus, or x squared, I'm sorry, minus x. And then what would I suggest you do? Distribute the negative, and I add straight down. So then I'm left with x, and then I drop negative 1. So then how do I get from x to x? Plus 1. So now I end up having x minus 1. And then distribute your negative. You add straight down, you get 0. What does it mean when you get a 0? It's a factor. That's so cool. So then this is really x minus 1 times x squared plus x plus 1. Now, what do we like to do to quadratics? We factor them. So can we factor this? We can't actually factor that one. It's not going to work. I'm not going to make you go too long. So what would be my divisor? This one's out of order too. So what do I need to do? I say what? X squared, and then plus 2x, and then minus 3. And then who's my highest power? 2x to the 4th, and then plus 4x cubed, and then there we go. Now I have this good order. Now I can get going with it. All right. So how do I get from x squared to 2x to the 4th? Not just x squared, but 2x squared. So I put it over the x squared part, okay? Because that's where it needs to go. All right. So now I have 2x squared times x squared, which is 2x to the 4th. And then 2x squared times 2x is 4x cubed. And then 2x squared times negative 3 is negative 6x squared. What would I suggest you do right here? Distribute. Choom, choom, choom. So when we add straight down, that goes to 0, that goes to 0. And then this goes to what? just positive x squared. How many canceled? 2 things canceled. So what do you think I should do? When 1 thing canceled, how many did I drop? 1. If 2 things cancel, how many should I probably drop? 2. So Snoop Dogg says, drop it like it's hot. All right. You never knew he was a mathematician? That could be a Dazzler song.
It has been.
How did I get from x squared to x squared? 1. All right. So then I'm left with x squared plus what? 2x. And then? Minus 3. And then I'm going to star fox it. So we got whoom, shoom, shoom. And then what's left? How many x's? 1. And then what are my constants going to?
1.
Plus 1. Now, can x squared get into x? No, it can't. It's not divisible in there. So what is this x plus 1 thing? That's a remainder, exactly. That's a remainder. So the way we write it is we say 2x squared plus 1, because that's what we get, right? And then I say plus whatever my remainder is. In this case, it's x plus 1 over what's my divisor? I get x squared plus 2x minus 3. And that would be my answer. Does that make sense? All right. So it's not just an r, x plus 1, right? All right, shame on those elementary teachers. Synthetic division. All right, synthetic division is those little tricks that we're going to be using. Can you use long division anytime in any polynomial? Yes, you can. All right. Synthetic division, it has to be linear. In synthetic division, it has to be linear. So, the way you do synthetic is whatever this x minus k is, that k is that number out front. So, for instance, if you're dividing by x minus 2, what would your k be? Your k would be 2. However, if you have x plus 3, what would your k be? Negative 3. Okay? And then you line them up, your coefficients. You just line up your coefficients of whatever you're dividing into. All right? And then you drop the first one. And then you multiply your k. And then you add. And then you multiply. And you add, and so forth. All right? And that last little box would be your remainder. All right. So I'm going to divide x to the 4th minus 10x squared minus 2x plus 4 by x plus 3. Oh, I didn't even know it was that. That's funny. All right. So what's my k? My k is negative 3. You can only use synthetic division when you divide by a linear. Is everybody hearing that? If you divide by an x squared, can you use synthetic? No, you can't. All right. So what would be my coefficients of my highest powers? 1, and then what? See if we get it. Then just 0. All right, then just 0. And then negative 10. And then negative 2. And then 4. All right. And then I like to put a little remainder box. I don't know what Francie did. Did he put a little remainder box? Good. Good. I like to keep them separate. All right. And so the way we can do it, this is a constant, this is an x, this is an x squared, this is an x cubed, this is an x to the 4th, right? So we'll talk about what our answer will be soon. All right, so the way we do it, we just drop 1. And then we do negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. And then we have 0 plus negative 3, which is negative 3. And then we have negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. And then we have negative 10 times 9, which is negative 1. Then we have negative 3 times negative 1, which is 3. And then we have negative 2 plus 3, which is 1. And then 1 times negative 3, which is... And then we end up getting a remainder of 1. All right? And so I like to go backwards. This is our constant. This is our x. This is our x squared. And this is our x cubed. You following me? So when we did it, I end up getting how many x cubes? 1x cubed. And then minus 3x squared. And then minus x, and then plus 1, and then plus 1 over what? X plus 3. All right, and then we're done. Guess what if we did this long division style? Guess what we'd still get? We'd still get the same thing. All right, now synthetic is nice when you divide by a what? A linear. Okay, can you use it anytime else? You can't. All right, so you can use long division for everything. This one's a shortcut when you divide with a linear. There you go. There you go. Enjoy. What are these?